This podcast is a part of the More Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Leader Podcast by Pattern Talent, where we interview great leaders and we seek to understand leadership. I'm Brad McDonald.
And I'm Taylor Jessup, and we really hope that you enjoy this episode. Whoa, we're living on a prayer. Oh. I think I even got the words wrong. Man.
YouTube's gonna reject our video because they're gonna
because the first 2 seconds are the Daily Leader is back singing "Living on a Prayer," guys. Bam, bam. That's what we're doing, Brad. That's what we're doing. As always, like, subscribe, take a minute, call your grandmother, tell her to check out our channel. Grandmas are really into leadership development these days. Surprising thing that Bradley didn't know. But we
actually, when we talk about Bill High and we reflect on his episode, we're going to see that grandmothers do shape our leadership in a very powerful way.
They do.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Thank you. Yes. So your grandmother, your father, your sister, your brother, your friend, whoever it is, tell them to go ahead and like, subscribe, and check us out here at the Daily Leader. And please send all your comments, especially about Brad and his weirdness. Why are you weirdness? What do you drip?
At the barista today, when I ordered this coffee, wrote drip on the cup, and then
you just got black coffee. It's funny.
Yeah,
funny.
But she wrote drip and then got the drip and then handed it to me. You know what I mean? It's just odd.
So
isn't that odd?
You had to go fill up your own drip coffee. So she wrote it on there for you. Okay, all right. Then it makes a little bit more sense. I thought she handed you.
I order it. She takes takes the cup out of the sleeve or whatever, writes drip, and then turns around and gets drip and gives it to me. And it was like, I don't know.
It seems like an extra step, like maybe she has short-term memory loss, and so she's just got to write it on there. So by the time she doesn't turn around, she doesn't forget that, like, oh man, this guy, she accidentally gives you a latte. That'd be, good for you, bad for the business. So,
do you know the pain my little Chick-fil-A heart felt when I saw her take that unnecessary step in the service process?
That was inefficient. She wasted 4 seconds writing that, setting her pen down as another 2, and the inconvenience. So, wow. Well, I'm sorry about that, Brad. I'm glad that you lived to tell the tale and you still have your drip coffee cup. But to be fair, it did leave a lasting impression. Maybe something that we're going to talk about. Maybe we'll go back just to see if they do it again. Could be a marketing ploy. We don't know. We can't confirm or deny that at this moment. What we can confirm and we can't deny is that we have a Daily Leader podcast group coaching that is launching coming up October 1st. We will be launching lots of groups moving forward. You're smoking a cigar? People that are just listening, they can't tell. Yeah, we're excited. Yeah. Oh, the lounge. That's what you're trying to say. Yeah, I'll get there. I'm talking about group coaching, man. The group coaching. I'm super excited. Group coaching is for anybody that is looking to grow themselves, their team, and their bottom line. We think all of those are really important. And we do believe that as you grow yourself, you have the opportunity to exponentially lead your team, and you will see those results in your bottom line. So if you're interested and you're listening to this episode in the future, let's say 2025, and you're like, does group coaching still go on? Yes, it does. We have new, I'm calling them pods because I love dolphins, that are launching all the time. So if you're not sure if we have a current pod that is going on of group coaching, please reach out to us via our
I think they're
website,
supposed to be groups.
email.
You're supposed to call them groups.
Nope.
It's not pod coaching. It's group coaching.
It's group coaching pods.
What would be the opposite of a mastermind?
Those are the dolphins.
Nikki, please edit that out. Please take that out.
The opposite of a mastermind? Unmastermind? Master, the opposite.
What if we call them Yoda minds?
Yoda minds?
Yoda minds.
We're changing it right now.
Obi-Wan Kenobi minds. I'm going to stop.
I think you should stop. Anyways, group coaching is going to be fantastic. Brad,
can I ask you a question?
You can.
Community. Okay, I think one of the key parts of the framework that we're going to be teaching people deals with why community is essential for leaders. Speak to it.
Yeah,
Say a little
100%.
something.
I love the old African proverb, Brad. It says, alone we can go fast, but together we can go far. When I think about developing people and leaders and teams, I do think you can do a lot on your own. You can go out and you can go for a run, and that's fantastic, and train for a marathon. I often wonder how much further could we go as a team? How much one person can accomplish is significantly less than how much a team of people can accomplish for a plethora of reasons. So, right, we're going to get different opinions, we're going to get different thoughts, we're going to get different feedback once we have other people, and other people can kind of act as like a mirror for ourselves too. Where we go, huh, they're going to hold that up, and we can look at that, right? And we can see, is that kind of who I want to be? What feedback am I getting? So we actually tend to think, hey, the group coaching might for some of you, because Brad and I also do individual coaching, be actually more powerful often than just individual coaching, because not only do you learn from your coaches, but you learn from your cohort of others that are in the pod with you as well. So you want to speak to that as well, because I know we've had conversations about why that is important.
Yeah, great. So individual coaching is really helpful to be able to laser in and to be able to share things that, otherwise might be potentially just a little too specific or granular um, for a group environment, right? The deal is you don't just get the value of the coach, you get the value of the other participants and the
Mm.
perspective that they bring, right? Here's an interesting question. How valuable is a life-changing conversation, right? What's it worth? Sometimes we're tempted to actually charge less. This is more just for the benefit of the listener for a group coaching experience, right? Because we have some scale on our end
Sure.
financially. And we will do that. It will cost less for the participants than a traditional one-on-one coaching relationship. For you and I, that's depending on who we're working with. It's roughly $1,000 per month per client. It could
Right.
go as up to 3,500, probably depending on the particular client we're working with,
Yep.
but almost never lower. In a group coaching context, we'll be able to do that for a little bit cheaper, which is helpful and good. But probably one of the biggest differences is you just have so much more available to you
Mm.
when you've got the assets and the perspective of the other people in that environment.
Yep.
And those relationships last for forever. They,
Yep.
they don't go anywhere. You bond over solving problems and that shared growth experience. So, man,
Yeah.
I'm really excited. Of all the stuff I've launched probably 4 or 5 initiatives in the last year with different partners and different opportunities. And I'm most excited about this one right now. I think that this tribe that we're building is going to be really awesome. Talk a little bit about the circle community that we're hooking onto. This is just kind of
Yeah.
an add-on. That, is, I don't think that necessarily costs people much more, but I think is a really cool feature that we're going to be using. So
Yeah. 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 I mean, our circle community is really, hey, if you want access to continue to grow yourself and sharpen yourself with other people and continue, like you said, in those conversations that could be life changing. There will be boards and conversations and things to be able to work through with each other. So often as a leader, it can feel like, man, you're the only one and maybe nobody gets you. Maybe you started your own business, and so you're at the top and everybody else works for you. And so, they come to you with all their questions. This is a safe place to be able to be with other people that are in those same shoes potentially and go, man, somebody at work came up to me and I had this. What would you all do? So not only that, we'll be able to track progress, really stay in touch with your pod and your community there. And I think it's going to be a really, really helpful, valuable addition. So it doesn't just end when the session ends and go do your, homework or whatever we talked about or thinking through. It's an iterative process where we jump in and we work on something and we say, hey, okay, this is for the week, and then people can wrestle through that all week long with each other. So it's providing the space to do that. And if you're listening and going, hey, why am I still listening to group coaching if I'm not going to do group coaching right now? I would say, hey, if you're listening to the Daily Leader at this point, um, the value here is knowing the importance of team, like
that's
the
right.
importance of healthy conversation, the importance of healthy self, the importance of how do I leverage and use in a positive way, right, the people around me to equip and empower them to be their best self. And the same for me. How do I do that for me? So this may not apply to you if you're thinking, I don't know if I'm into group coaching. I would say, okay, great. Well, tell me about that. I'd love to have that conversation with you. But B is, are there ways that you could take some of what we have been talking about and do that with your team and kind of see it as your own mini coaching sessions? So, Brad, anything else on the group coaching before we jump into more of the lounge episode here?
DM us, Instagram, LinkedIn, Brad at patterntalent.co, Taylor at baragency.com. And that's how you get plugged in.
Perfect. Yep. We'll have show notes in there too. We will have show notes for you. Reach out, questions, comments, concerns. Brad and I would love to always jump on a call with you. You can reach out. We'll schedule a call, talk through what you are learning, doing, who you are, where you're at, and just kind of explore that. So from there,
I do my first call free. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, I do my first call free. I actually charge more for my first call than any other calls. No, I do it free.
I love that. That's a great
first call is $2,000, and after that, it's only $50. Call.
Okay, good, dude. Lounge. So we're like 40 episodes deep. Are you aware? Do you realize that we have just done this so many times now?
Only because you told me, 30, 40 minutes ago when we started this. But no, I mean, I really wasn't aware. Like we have a fair amount of reps. That's almost 50.
Yeah, we're going to get there.
50. Yeah.
By end of year, we should hit 53, actually, is what Nikki scheduled us out for. So,
let's go.
And then we're fully booked. We're fully booked through episode, 40 something right now. So we're cruising right along.
There's a lot of people. If you're interested or curious about coming on the Daily Leader, please, again, reach out. We'd love to have conversations with you. So, I can't believe it's episode 40. That's pretty.
We're fully booked through 51.
Okay. Yeah. So we're booked out a ways, but we'd love to have some conversations and see if we can get you on. Today, we're reflecting. It's been a while. Going back over Chance, Pearson, Elise, and Nathan came on, Bill High, and Elizabeth Dixon. So kind of a little bit of a rapid fire in there of some of our biggest takeaways, what we liked, what we've applied, all those good things. So
that's right.
But I think even before we get into those, Brad, we're gonna play our game that we usually burn other people, and I think you're gonna burn me.
So today I wanted to do a little test round. I was reflecting a little bit on slow burn and what that illustrates, right? And one of the changes you made on a previous podcast was saying, hey, before we ask our guest to share their story, we're actually going to introduce slow burn first. And we're going to get to know them in the way that they navigate the leadership paradoxes before we have them share their story with us. And that has been a really fun change. And in fact, an episode that's going to come out soon with James Lawrence, who's the founder and CEO of Happy, which is a really cool coaching tech company that Taylor and I are stoked about, is just such a great example of like the power of positioning that part of the conversation before someone tells their story. And so I'm really stoked for listeners to hear that episode, which was just so fun. Like, it's just a great episode.
It was a great episode. Yeah, James is fun. He's funny. He made me laugh. He brought a giant water bottle. He checked a lot of the boxes. Way to go, James.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have great guests.
He needs to co-host something with us.
Yeah, he should. That would be fun. Let's kick Shane out, and we're just going to ask James to come more. So, bye-bye, Shane. Shane's been giving us a lot of issues about Costco and about Android and about all the things, and I don't know.
Hey, shout out to Nikki, who is a Sam's Club Apple. I emailed that back, and I said, Nikki, God bless you. You're a psychopath. Yeah. Only he can help you. Only God can help you at this point.
She is a unicorn. She is one of a kind. Yeah. That is for sure.
Yeah. She's a leprechaun.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Nikki,
leprechaun.
Don't edit this out, Nikki.
I'm a leprechaun. I can't.
Okay, I'm going to slow burn you. You ready?
Let's go.
Okay, some new ones. Some new ones we haven't tested yet.
All right.
Strategy or execution? Strategy or execution? What's more important in leadership?
I'm going to say execution. Execution is more important than strategy. We can have the right strategy and never get off the ground, but a bad strategy still executed is still movement forward. So, and I think if we execute well on a bad strategy, we're still probably going to be okay if we live at a high level of execution. So, just because the game plan wasn't right, we said, hey, we're going to go to war and this is our plan. And that plan goes crap because we didn't have a great strategy. If we are still executing on the X's and O's, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. So I'm going to go with execution there. You can have a great strategy, but if you're not implementing that strategy, never going to get off the ground. So execute that well.
Good work. Very thoughtful.
Oh,
this one's an interesting one.
Points. Well, I guess I give points typically, so I'm going to give myself a 7.
-2.
Wow. -2. Hurtful.
Tradition or innovation? Now, listen, you're going to be tempted to knee-jerk answer this, but think deeply. Think deeply before you do, because this one is actually tougher than it sounds.
Tradition and innovation. I'm going to find a loophole here, Brad, and I think I just did. Here's the deal: is I am going to go with tradition, because I think most of the answers to our issues are actually simple. They're just not easy. So we want to innovate and come up with new ideas all the time, and I think that is fantastic. But as human beings, I think the more that we do what we just talked about, which is execute on ideas and follow the traditions of what we've done as people for a long time, which is connect with other humans, provide value, do it, like have moral high ground. Those things are going to be more important than innovating something brand new, in my opinion. And I think, and here's the loophole, innovation can be a byproduct of that tradition. If the tradition is, hey, human beings find a way to make something new, which is what we do. We didn't have fire, and then we do have fire. We follow in that tradition. We didn't have a wheel, and then we do have a wheel. Don't know how that happened. We will naturally innovate, right? But I also think we can get too caught up into innovating and forget the tradition that actually got us there. So we're going to go with tradition.
That's good. You're kind of giving me Jurassic Park vibe, like life finds a way.
No. Dude, I love Jeff Goldblum.
Remember that?
That dude. 100%. 100%. Chaos theory, man. Jurassic Park. Okay, so here's what I've been doing, Brad. We're going to rabbit trail just for a second. I read this book.
This is the drop-off part. 19 minutes. This is where you're supposed to really be hooking
No.
people.
This is
now they're going to be...
Okay, I have this. So you have all your books. I have this note, and people can't probably see it or read it. Says, what would... Yeah, can you read it?
Yeah. What would this look like if it was fun?
Yes. Okay, so Jurassic Park, where does that come in? John Williams wrote the soundtrack to Jurassic Park, one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably because I saw it as a kid, and it was so well done before all the days of CGI, all those kind of things. But he scored that movie, did the music for it. So what I've been doing is saying, hey, what would this look like if this were fun? When I'm doing mundane tasks, things that I don't want to do. And you know what I do? I go put on John Williams' greatest soundtrack. So it's Harry Potter, Star Wars, Jurassic Park.
Awesome.
And that's what's playing. It makes it feel like almost epic as I'm doing junk that I don't want to do, of sending emails and having fun. I got it from a book called Feel Good Productivity, where he wrote it to himself. And he would actually turn on the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack. Another fantastic soundtrack. And so I would encourage our listeners, hey, think about this, all right? Those things that you don't want to do, which we all have those. There's nobody that doesn't. And even some of those that you do. Music can be distracting, but it can also be something to propel you into it. So sticking to tradition of old music, but innovation in putting that music on while I'm working. So I'm going to steal from both of them. I would encourage you guys. It's made my days, and when I remember to do it, significantly more enjoyable. And I catch myself just kind of smiling and hammering away on my keyboard. So anyway, that was my
I
little
love it.
rabbit trail. Feel good productivity. I can't remember who the author is, but I'll figure
We're
it out.
going to talk about that when we talk about Chance Pearson here in a minute and we talk about play. But before I get there, good flex. I like that. I like the tat. It's
Thanks.
good. Well done. You've been doing your push-ups.
No, I'm catching up on my push-ups right now. I'm gonna this weekend. I'm probably gonna crank out like 1,000. That's my goal because
Yeah.
sick family, sick wife, and kids, and all those things this week. So I'm behind, but I've done a few.
It's an excuse. It's an excuse for you not being committed. But we'll talk
This
about
slow
that later.
burn has been so long.
Oh yeah. I'm not done yet. I got one more. But let me just do a quick plug for one of your latest movement initiatives, which is 3,000 push-ups. It's September 13th today. This drops at the end of September, which means there's still time to catch up, folks.
Yeah.
So even if it's the last week of September, you can still do 3,000 push-ups. You just have to do them in a very compressed time window. All right.
7 days.
Here's the deal.
450
If you
push-ups.
sign up and you do 3,000 push-ups, Taylor is going to give you a free coaching session. And you know what I realized and decided? This is crazy. I decided that I'm just going to start giving away free coaching sessions with you. And here's what I realized. I realized that there's nothing that can stop me from doing this. First of all, like you can't sew my mouth shut, so I can do this or like break all my feet. You can't do that. You should go to jail.
I might be able to. I haven't tried.
And plus, I mean, it's just dark and weird. I mean, you would.
I could get away with it.
Okay. Second thing is you're not going to say no. So if I'm like, hey guys, Taylor's giving away free coaching sessions, and someone's like, oh, I want one, you're not going to be like, no, I'm not. Like that, like false advertising. You're going to do it because it's just in your nature to be a generous guy.
Of who I am?
Yeah, like you're not going to not do it. So I just realized I'm going to start giving away free Taylor Jessup Barra coaching sessions until I personally am blue in the face.
Sure. Good for you.
And then your schedule is going to be full of coaching.
Yeah.
So
my email for that is brad@patterntalent.co.
I like that. Okay, back to slow burn. Join for 3,000 push-ups. Taylor does free coaching. Just call me if you need it.
Burn, baby, burn.
Develop self or develop others?
Self. It's got to be self. If I'm asking other people to do things, I better well be doing it myself. The number one, I think, way to have a team feel like you are inauthentic is to ask them to do things that you are not doing yourself. So, which I think happens all the time in leadership, because as we elevate, everybody else under us has to do X, Y, and Z, and we tell them what to do. So yeah, develop me. I'm always going to develop me first. Develop me will inevitably develop my team, but developing my team can develop me too. But if I'm not doing the work myself, man, A, I think I am missing out. And B is I think there will be a false sense of humility that will be sniffed out by your team. So
that's good.
Boom.
What do you think? You like those three?
Yeah, like them. Let's get them into the rotation. I've got some others. They'll be more playful for sure. They'll be more playful, but I like these. These are good. We can burn people with that. So, Brad, we're at 24 minutes already. Let's rock and roll. I'm excited to talk about.
I will say this: you've actually said some decent things in the last 25 minutes. So if a listener has made it this far,
sure,
they've gotten a couple nuggets.
Well, there's some good tidbits in there, from both of us. Yeah. I think that on occasion we say something profound, and there is a lot of fluff, as our wives would say.
Tell us about Chance Pearson.
Dude, what a guy, man. First of all, Chance is jacked. You probably can't tell too much.
Dude, Chance is swole.
Yeah, I'm like trying to move my shoulders here and be like, flex a little bit. Like, dude is in shape and fit. Things that I loved about the Chance episode. One, he was just honest and full of humility. I thought that was great. And here's what I mean by that. Chance came on and said he realized in himself, and I wish more people would do this, that he was, running a company, CEO, and he wasn't a great leader.
Yeah.
I found that to be interesting. I don't think that there's many CEOs, and maybe there are more than I give credit for. They go, hey, I run this company and I'm not a great leader. And Chance actually went and found himself a coach. Here's a plug for coaching, right? That helped him see the entire world of how he leads his team very differently. So he talked about it in the episode, and I really like the imagery. And of course, grew up in a Christian house, and I'm a guy that follows Jesus. But he talked about, man, are you going to lead kind of with your rod? Sheep. Jesus talks a lot about sheep in the Bible, right? So are you going to lead with your rod and just banging them, or is there a gentle way to kind of lead them? Like Scripture
Mhm.
talks about, hey, when the shepherd calls, the sheep know, and he hears his voice, right? And so rather than like beating them into submission, which is like, man, try and get people to do, he's talking about, hey, is there a better way to lead? We can kind of lead from behind and encourage people on. And he said he's become a much, much better leader. And that was evident on the podcast. The things that he talked about, I think, even the transformation of his team, the way he views himself, all those things really came through. And I came away going, yeah, I would follow that guy. I'd follow that guy, which tells me that
Yep.
he's put in the work. So what'd you like, man? What was good?
Mind body connection. He did a really good job of making a connection between physical fitness and how we engage our minds and kind of our souls in the work that we do. He talked about seeing character development through fitness and athletics in kids because Redline Athletics, where he's the CEO, focuses their business on young, kind of emerging
Mm.
childhood athletes.
Yep.
However, I think all of those principles apply even more so to adults. Like
Mm.
when I probably stand 90% of the time that I work
Yeah.
because
Me
I
too.
just
I'm
am.
at my new standing desk.
Yep. Thank you. That's
Yeah, no problem.
fantastic. Yeah, I'm with it. Like I'm not the only one. Like I just do so much better when I am kind of on my feet, moving around a
Yeah.
little bit. And so
Yeah.
I think doing walks in the middle of the day, all that stuff. He kind of blended the fact that like movement is character building, character is built through movement, and we need to be able to engage our bodies as we engage our minds. And then
Mm.
that kind of spurred on a conversation. Remember, I wasn't there for this one because
Hmm.
Honora had just been born,
Yeah.
but just the idea that play and movement are critical for mental health
Yeah.
was something that you guys touched on briefly in that interview. And Brad Larson did a great job kind of bringing in some research that he had reviewed like that same week. And I think we can't underemphasize enough how important physical health is. And I'm not talking about like the ego metrics or how much you can lift or how thin
Sure.
you are, how big your muscles are. Although Chance did have very impressive muscles. You not so much, but you know eventually. But just the fact that like we're whole beings and we're made up of body and mind, and when we go too far into one and neglect the other, we really start to see diminishing returns on our performance.
Yeah. Man, couldn't agree more. And we had a great conversation. I encourage all of our listeners to go back and listen to it. It culturally and just in the history of humans in general, I think there's probably not a time that we have moved less as a result of
Wow, the way
technology.
you said humans, I got like Theo Von images in my mind. That was like a very Theo Von pronunciation. I like that.
Well,
Thank
thank
you
you.
for that,
Thank you.
Theo.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're
Shout out
welcome.
to Theo. Let's have Theo on the Daily Leader.
I'm
His
in.
his podcasts have gotten pretty serious lately. I mean, whoa.
Mm,
I don't
I
know if
haven't
you're a Theo
listened.
Von guy, but I always have to like sort of like try to forget some of the things that get said on his pod. But
Sure. Sure.
he's had some pretty profound stuff lately. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. No, the point was in history, it is not a coincidence to me that we have more jobs that are behind a desk and more depression.
oh, I completely agree.
Right.
Yeah,
So we moved away kind of from even the industrial revolution may have been the start of it, but we're still out working, kind of using our hands. And over the last, 200 years, there's been more and more sitting and less active working. And we actually work to work away from that. And which is great. Those are good things. And movement is a basic part of human physiology. It just is who we are. And there are significant benefits to even just a little bit of movement every day and some sunlight and, staying grateful, all those things. So they did a great job of talking about that. Brad talking about, even the chances of becoming a sociopath are directly related to play as a young child, like kids not getting out
Right.
enough, which is scary when you start to think about, currently the easiness of being able to give your kid an iPad or a phone to be able to distract them rather than to get outside. There's some great Instagram channels about families and people that are kind of noticing this trend too of the change in kids when they just sit and watch screens rather than going out and being outside and being active. Encourage you to do some research on that if you are interested in it, because I do think even that core, the movement and play and just engaging with our bodies on a physical level is so important to take care of our mind. So
Good stuff, dude.
yeah, let's move on, man. Elise and Nathan, what'd you like? I mean, we of course like them. You've worked with them, you know them a while. Yeah,
You
I don't
guys
want to get too much.
sabotaged me. You guys were ganging up on me because I'm not a CrossFitter.
Yeah, you're not. You're not part of. You haven't drank the Kool-Aid, man. You're not cool. You don't go to the box. You don't go to a box, a CrossFit
What
box.
was the connection between CrossFit character and leadership?
Yeah, CrossFit character leadership. Great question, man. Um, I perceive what I loved about CrossFit is it constantly challenged me to get better. I think I told the story on the pod of like showing up day one, and I looked around at all these people, and I was like, man, I can't do kind of what they're doing. I'm like, I should be able to keep up, but I can't. You do things like double unders and strict presses and burpees and kipping pull-ups and all these kind of weird movements, right? And if you keep showing up, you're going to realize that you're going to get better one day at a time. But if you wanted to jump in on day one and do a routine of, we'll say it's a Murph, right? Which a Murph is, you run a mile, you do 100 push-ups, excuse me, yeah, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats, and then you run another mile. And you're supposed to do it with a 20-pound weighted vest, right? This is the game that you play. If you tried to do that day one and you didn't come in shape, you would just die. You might actually just have a heart attack. And there's some humans out there that might be able to do that. But if you come and you chip away, right, and you keep learning, okay, here's the way to do these kipping pull-ups. Here's the, I can keep increasing my VO2 max and do some runs. Get used to, as you and I like to do, run or walk with our weighted vests. You keep chipping away at that, and essentially you kind of fail forward, because I can't tell you the amount of times that I failed in CrossFit, and I fail is a loose term, right? But didn't, like, the form wasn't accurate or whatever it was, or I came into the restaurant back in the day and slipped, and I had bloodied shins and a broken wrist and all kinds of things. But you failed forward enough times to actually be able to do what you wanted to do at the beginning, which is to come in and to execute on these different workouts. So I think that is leadership, that is character. It's not about having it together day one. It's about, am I willing to show up and keep failing forward time and time again, and really embrace failure, which is something we've talked about often on the podcast. So
I want to contradict everything you just said.
okay, go.
Squat, deadlift, bench, shoulder press.
Yeah, that's all you do.
Walk.
That's all you need. That is all you need.
There's nothing else. There is nothing else.
Walk. I'm glad that you threw walk in there. I did that on the treadmill a lot right now.
Okay. That's all that's happening on this. That's all this body's doing, right? We're not doing any kippings. There's no
I've
kipping.
invited you over to do some different activities, and you have not come. Although to be fair, it's been 110 and both of us have newborns. So
if I tried to do gymnastic rings, I would literally rip my shoulder out of my socket. It would just be injury.
I'd pay to watch. I'd pay to watch that.
My shoulders can do this motion. This is the only motion my shoulders can perform. Nothing, not this. This doesn't happen. If this happens,
use this phrase that my coach gave me. Until now, this is the only motion that they can perform. You don't know where you could go, Brad.
Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. Still making appearances. What about you?
Emerging leaders face very different challenges than seasoned leaders, right?
Sure.
kind of continuing with the muscle illustration, quite literally, if you're like, hey, Brad, like go do your pull-ups instead of doing them, on your little perfect pull-up thing hanging from your garage door, I want you to use these gymnastic rings. I would be able to do them, and I could do a handful. Could maybe do 10 pull-ups, right,
Yeah.
on a normal bar without really struggling much. But if I had to do them on gymnastic rings, right, and I had to maintain kind of some of that balance and some of the control with the variety of motion that I'm going to be making, it's going to be a lot more difficult for me because I don't have the muscle memory and the strength there, right? You're activating lots of other tendons and supplementary muscles to do that movement that you're usually not, right?
Yeah, you're going deep here. Yeah, you're right.
I
You're right.
think that emerging leaders are very much in what I would call like a liminal state or a state of disorientation when they're first exposed to leadership. And we
Mm-hmm.
forget sometimes as seasoned leaders what that experience is like, how scary it is, like the acute stress response that you feel the first day you show up and you're supervising people.
Yep.
And so to me, that was probably one of my biggest takeaways. I've got one more that was pretty important from that conversation, but um, the kind of tandem with that is that for emerging entrepreneurial leaders
Mm-hmm.
who really have a low tolerance for bureaucracy, for red tape, for the kind of infrastructure um, and diplomacy that's required to do really well in corporate hierarchy. Um, Being in the space of emerging leadership is especially challenging for that sort of personality. And
Mm-hmm.
so, as a seasoned leader, when I see an entrepreneurial young leader, if I want to maximize their contribution to the team, I need to try to be intentional about not putting a ton of obstacles in front of them and kind of creating a little bit more room for them to try, to fail, to experience, speed and agility, and not expect them to be a more diplomatic, bureaucratic style. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying those things are wrong. I'm just saying when you're an entrepreneurial leader, they're extremely challenging
Sure.
for your personality. So
Yeah.
those two things really stick out at first, but I would love to hear your reaction to that and maybe some additional thoughts.
It was good, man. Yeah, if you, I thought it was a great conversation about emerging leaders because I do think often that the expectation of a leader that's coming into a company is they should have like a 20-year vet background on day one, or that's what we're looking for, which is just not going to happen. So, A, if I'm an emerging leader, I may put that kind of pressure on myself. And B, if I'm working with an emerging leader, I may be putting that expectation on them without knowing it. The best way I have to describe it, because I love sports and football is back. Da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. That's NFL theme song, which you would know. Or Fox, I think, Fox. But you can watch this happen a lot in sports. In other words, as athletes ascend into the professional world, right? They go from college, which is at a very high level, into the pros. And I just watched this last weekend. In college, things are happening in kind of like slow motion. You're like watching these people be incredible athletes and all this kind of stuff. And then the level of play is elevated. And it was funny. I'm a Denver fan. Bo Nix is the new quarterback. Everybody's ready for this kid to rock and roll. And you watch him come out there. And it was a rough first outing, man. The game looked too fast for him. And to be fair, it was too fast for him for that day. But the coach really supported him. The team's coming around him and going, "Hey, we got to give this person time to grow and provide the right, temperament, the right context, the right soil for him to really grow and develop." I think um, teams that have developing leaders really need that, which I think is great when they can implement that. And then B is if you are a developing leader, if you're young, if you're trying to figure it out, you got to give yourself some time and grace and the ability to just go out there and play in the big leagues and get your teeth knocked in. That is some of the only way you will learn, right? Is the bravery to just step into, can I play this game, get my teeth knocked in and keep playing, right? You can always go get surgery and get new teeth. It's fine. But you don't always have more, opportunities to lead. So yeah, I like that, man. I like that. It was good. It was good. They did a great job. It was a great pod. What about Bill? Talk to me about Bill.
Family leadership, family leadership. This is really the first time we've talked a lot about parenting, but this is really the first time that we've talked about family leadership.
Mm.
I think that family has to be one of the most challenging contexts for leadership. When you look at the media that we consume over the last 50 years from a television standpoint, and you go from, let's say, I don't know, the Cosbys to what was the Tim Allen one? Tim the Toolman
Oh, Home
Taylor,
Improvement. Yeah,
to
Home
Home
Improvement.
Improvement, Full House kind of thing, to modern to Parenthood, to Modern Family. And you just think about just how family culturally in media has
Yeah.
kind of transformed, right, into this totally new and different conversation. And we think about things like gender and sexuality. We think about things like divorce and blended families. We think about things like adoption. We think about DEI and how we're trying to demonstrate like the diversity of our nation across different states, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, from north to south. And there's just so much ground that we're trying to cover as we have the conversation about family. And it's just super tough. And it's super tough to bring our unique family situation to work environments where people have radically different family situations. And here we are, we're supposed to coexist, even though our worldviews and our experience of family might be radically different. And so Bill, I think, is a wonderful person to have this dialogue with. And there's a couple big things that I think apply to any kind of family, no matter what situation they're coming from. One being, look, family is this infinite game. And that was the term that you brought to the conversation. This idea that family is meant to be multi-generational, and that we're playing an infinite game in family.
Thank you.
Another
Simon
idea
Sinek.
being that, what's that?
I said, thank you, Simon Sinek.
Yep, we appreciate you. We're coming for you, Simon. You're going to be on the pod.
Yeah, you are. We
Start
can't
prepping
wait.
now.
Yeah.
Right after Huberman. Man, I got to get on that. I've only got until
Yes.
February to get that locked in.
Slow burn is coming for both of them,
That's right. Family is meant to be interdependent by choice. That was another big thing that I think is critical that Bill conveyed, is like, we do family not because we're required to in modern society, but because we want to, because there's a choice that we actually believe that our family can bring some things as a unit that we can't have if we're independent. And then probably this idea that legacy isn't what you leave behind, which is kind of the common framework, but it's what you set into motion. So that reframe, I think, is pretty powerful. Like, I'm a young father celebrating my 10th anniversary, and I am starting to really think critically about what our values are. Like, how do we articulate what it means to be a part of this little group that we've created in our household? And what do we do that are different than maybe what the next door neighbors do? And what makes us unique as a team and as a family? And I think that idea that I am putting some things in motion that my children will carry forward is really motivating and inspiring to me.
Yeah.
And I think that our listeners would appreciate that reframe too. So those are my reflections on our time with Bill, which was just a ton of fun.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Bill did a great job. I think it is a super fascinating conversation just on the history and the origin of family, and looking at how much more I think families a little bit used to, if we want to talk about like tradition versus innovation, right? Think a little bit along those lines of multi-generations. Whereas in our current context, we are far more a society of about current generation and what is happening here, and less about what is going to happen in 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 generations. So thinking about, how do I organize myself and my values and my vision, not just for me and my current family, but how is that going to affect my kids and my kids' kids and my children's kids, and what do I want to leave with them? I find it really interesting. I used to, as you know, work at an auction company. So I ran that for a number of years. And it was really sad to watch death tear apart these families. Like you would think that death would actually bring them together. So mom and dad or somebody has passed away, right? And and I know there's a lot of tension over it. Sometimes in terms of physical possessions, but sometimes it's money. And more often than not, I think the sad thing that I saw was that time would tear people apart rather than bring them together. And this is not a blame game to say, hey, maybe the family vision wasn't large enough to accompany that. It's maybe the vision in the next generation didn't. But what does it look like to orient yourself and develop yourself and your vision and your values for your family? Both vision, values, monetarily, all those things to go, when I die, I want all of this, whatever it is, from me to be passed on to those people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't always think that way. I've been having my clients all do a eulogy for themselves of like, hey, what do you want people to say at the end of your life? Like, what do you want to do? Work with the end in mind. So I think we have a lot to learn from past generations in that. I think our current generation and the generations around us is got a lot to learn. So it was good. It was good stuff, man.
Elizabeth Dixon was actually a great example of this, the way that she is including her kids in the launch of Slumber Sleepwear, and the way that her family as a group is kind of launching that business together. Let's get into Elizabeth and talk about some of the reflections from the part 2 episode we did with her.
Yeah, man, Elizabeth was, always great. That's why we had her on for part 2. She's fantastic.
She's fun.
Yeah.
She's funny.
She made me laugh. Yeah. She makes me laugh, and she laughs. It's fun. Everybody's having a good time, It's great. Elizabeth did really, I liked what she had to say. Because we talked about golf. She's been getting into golf. And so that was fun. But B, she had a couple of reframes both in golf and in the way that she was thinking about her business. So she's launched Slumber Sleepwear, which kind of went from nothing to what it is now. Go check it out. Go order some Slumber Sleepwear, of which her family and friends and people have all given her the feedback that this is so freaking comfortable, right? Fight the frump is the slogan that never quite made it out there, but I still am pulling for it in the back end. But I liked a couple of her reframes of the way to think about being an entrepreneur and starting your own business. One of them was, how do you define success? Like, what does success look like? And Elizabeth had to kind of define success for herself. I think in today's culture, it is really hard to not define success as being the next fill in the blank.
That's right.
Tesla, Apple, Facebook, FaceSpace, whatever you want to call it. FaceSpace is a thing too. Whatever you want to call it, Instagram. Like we see oftentimes the finished product, right? And we go, man, that's an overnight success. And I'm not saying that there aren't some overnight successes that somebody made a new discovery or something in a day and made a lot of money on it. But for the most part, behind every overnight success is thousands and thousands of hours of hard work behind the scenes. And so if our end point is to say we have to hit X, right? If that is something that we don't even think is possible, A, not going to be helpful for starting towards that. And then B, what if we change that? And what if we said, hey, my success in here is giving my best effort. It is committing to this and going and marching in this direction. And for her, she defined it as success for me was trying. It was trying. It was getting out there. It was doing it. It was being vulnerable. It was putting myself out there in a new way. And I love that. And she also said her golf coach encouraged her, said, how do you approach putting? And she goes, to make the putt. And he goes, no, you approach the putt to get closer to making your next putt. And I found that to be really interesting. If you're Scotty Scheffler and you're on the PGA Tour, maybe that's not as good of advice for you. But if you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about your life, or if you're an average golfer, like the 99.999% of the rest of humans, what a good way to think, Brad, put your putter away. Nobody that's listening can.
I'm a fantastic putter.
Brad, you've never been on a real golf course. Have you? Actually, you probably have.
Wow, Taylor. You don't remember giving me golf lessons?
That was, Brad, we
literally
didn't go
gave
on
me
the
golf
course.
lessons. I bought a special pair of shorts for that outing. I literally went to Golf Galaxy or whatever and bought pants.
Oh, hang on. Golf Galaxy. That could be our new place. That's not a thing yet, I don't think. I'm going to have to.
Oh,
Ron,
it's
can you
definitely
Google
not.
that? Hang on. Hang on. Ron's in the back. He's Googling that. He's Googling that. Golf Galaxy.
Here's
What
what
do you
I
see, Ron?
took away from that idea of like, don't try to make the putt, try to make the next shot easier. Is that what she said?
Yeah. Yeah. You're trying to make your
This
next shot easier. Yep.
like where I wrestled, where I really applied that is like I had a really aggressive revenue goal for month 12, for year one of my
Mm-hmm.
coaching business. I was supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be at a revenue goal that was really, honestly, in hindsight, it was way too high. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what I was thinking in terms of trying to bite off that much in year one of a business launch. But I was going for it, right? And so I was trying to put put the ball in the hole, right? And and so rookie mistake, lesson learned. Like take a play out of Elizabeth's playbook. Like we're all in process. Now that I'm rethinking that and somewhat in these terms, like as a takeaway from our conversation with Elizabeth, I really feel like I need to focus less on the total number of revenue that I'm trying to bring in
Mm-hmm.
and more on the incremental month over month growth.
Mm-hmm.
And if I just think about, okay, I got to, 1,000 in revenue this month. I got to 10,000 in revenue this month. What if I just get to 12 next month? I get to 25 this month. What if I just get to 30 next month?
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking about that next step, like just go close another couple clients. Don't think about, the having 85 clients. Think about having one more than I have today.
Sure. Sure. Well,
That to me is just a really healthy reflection and reframe.
yeah. And I would say, Brad, I would even think about that, and I'd challenge you. I'd be like, I don't think that the goal was wrong, and I don't think that you necessarily want to say, "Hey, I want to shoot this putt to not make it," but I think that the focus. So the goal is still the same, right? But the daily focus and what we do, like, hey, I want to make this putt. Yes, of course, but the goal really is to make a good putt. That's the goal, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
in same way, if you say, "Hey, my revenue goal for this month is 25 grand," well, if that is all you do is focus on that, that's great. But if, like you said, if you focus just on the day to day of, okay, cool, I just need to get a couple more clients. That's all I got to do. I just got to keep stacking clients. If I'm on the golf course, yes, of course I want to make the putt, but realistically, what I want to do is I want to make a good putt right now. So take the pressure off, right? The pressure can come off of, hey, here's the big goal that I want to hit, and just focus small. It's my small focus, like,
It's a Josiah Egono, focus on the immediate mission.
yes, yes, yeah,
Remember
circling
that?
all the way back to episode
That was
2.
our first interview.
Yeah, first interview. Yeah, Josiah, which is great. I mean, that's why I love this. Is like, hey, everybody's pulling different things together. It's like a big buffet. I love buffet. You a buffet guy? I'm a buffet guy.
I mean,
The right
I've
buffet.
got, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
right
There we
buffet.
go.
Yeah.
That's
But
right.
what I like is you can pick and choose whatever you want, right? I'm not just subject to a menu. I'm like, cool. I mean, I am whatever there's out there, but I can just keep
Yeah,
it.
if we're at Fogo de Chao, I'm all about the buffet. If we're at the
Mm-hmm.
Golden Corral, I'm all about the Pepto
What's
Bismol,
the one that they chop it up? It's kind of like a buffet, and then they cook it right in front of you, like the and you can
like a
just keep going
hibachi,
back. Yeah,
like
kind
a
of.
hibachi style.
Well, like a hibachi. There's another one that I was thinking
You're
of.
thinking YC's,
I've never heard of YC's in my life, so I'm definitely not thinking of that.
Mongolian. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
it
gonna
is a
take you there.
Mongolian grill. Okay,
I'm gonna
yeah,
take you
let's do
there.
it. Yeah, deal. All right, we'll call it a date. But
You
then, I
gotta
mean,
pay.
it. No, you're giving away my free session, so which I'm down for. I'm down for.
See, I told
Actually, I
you.
think it's
I
on
told
me.
you you'd say
I,
yes.
I think it is. The next meal's on me. I think if we were to reflect back, but the point is, yeah, keep the goal, right? The goal is to win the game, inevitably. But you can't win the game by just thinking about winning the game. You win the game by thinking about the immediate mission, which is
That's right.
play defense here, which is make this shot. If I think about winning the game, why I need to make this shot, the pressure to make that shot increases. And I don't think in a freeing way where we go, oh, okay, cool. Now I can really play the game.
Mhm.
So same way, if we're going, okay, cool, set your revenue goals and then just focus on the immediate mission. That's how we'll get there. So Elizabeth did a great job of that. Anything else from the Elizabeth episode that you
Just
love,
that
man?
great things take time. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
the
good.
just
That's
the
good.
discipline of patience and the character to kind of be long suffering and just the same direction for a long time,
Mm.
right? Lots of detours, lots of twists and turns, lots of
Yeah.
mountains and valleys, but the the time in is so much of, I think, what makes a leader great and what makes a leader truly seasoned. um, I think that needs to be counterbalanced with the notion that not all time is equal. Like, there are better and worse ways to engage in life and to spend your time. There's levels of effort that you can put forth, and that has a material impact on the quality of your development.
Yeah.
However, just being in the game for a
Yeah.
long period of time is valuable too.
Yeah.
And she really emphasized the amount of patience required to build something of enduring value.
Yeah. Time over tension is how we get stronger. You want to build muscles in your body, it is time and tension, right? Like you said, if you spend all of your time, but there is no tension on those muscles, it doesn't matter. That's
Right.
just being lazy. But if there's time and tension, in other words, I'm going to do 100 push ups a day and I continue to do that, that will lead to growth. So, um, it is something that, again, I think it's really simple. It's just not easy. Like the story I make up is most of our listeners would hear that and just go, yeah, yeah, that's probably true. But when you're actually in the trenches, you're typically like, why the heck am I still in the trenches and how come I haven't succeeded already?
Oh
And
yeah, when
that's,
I look at my revenue goal, I'm like, and I look at where I'm at today, I'm like, dude, this is garbage. Like, I'm going to make a sales call right now.
sure.
And there's a healthy, you know, aspect of that, but there's also just like, hey, this takes time.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to be a while before I'm where I want to be.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. And that
Yes.
requires patience, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Hootie and the Blowfish. Time, why you punish me. There's a
Oh,
throwback to the
don't
90s.
sing. When you
That
sing,
was
God
good.
cries.
That was good. That was good. I hit those notes. Darius Rucker's got a deep voice, man. Don't blame that on me. But yeah, the time part is hard. It will just always be hard, right? And the way to is through.
Hmm.
There is nothing else. The way to is
That's
through.
right.
You put in your hours, you put in your reps. Like if you went to the gym every day and you just did 5 reps and then kept increasing those 5 reps or kept increasing the weight, you will get stronger.
That's basically what I do.
Well, on that note, anything else that we missed, Brad, here that we should circle back to on
Sign
all
up for
these
group coaching.
episodes?
That's all I want to say at this point in this episode of the Lounge. We're really excited about this. This is, we're building a business here that's bigger and more hopefully impactful than just a podcast, right? And so that's going to include some community. It's going to include some content in avenues like this, but it's also going to include opportunities for things like group coaching events and and more. So
Yeah.
this is kind of the next iteration and evolution of who we are at the Daily Leader. And so we've got a pretty cool framework built out of our values: curiosity, community, competence, and clarity. And we want to introduce you as participants to 4 key commitments that will transform your leadership. And that's where we're headed. So sign up for that. Uh, all free coaching inquiries to tailor@barraagency.com.
I'm in.
And if you're doing 3,000 push-ups this month with us, make sure you reach out because we want to know that.
That's right.
And we've got some freebies and goodies for you
Yeah.
if you do it.
Join the 3000 Club, as I
That's
like
right.
to call it. Yeah. The 3000 Club. It's a very fancy name for people doing push ups
That's
most
right.
days. Yeah. And here's the interesting part that I've learned about that is my original goal was it's 100 push-ups a day, which is accurate. That will get you in the month of September, that will get you to 3,000 push-ups. That is not necessarily that may or may not always be possible on any given day. You may have kids, you may have somebody get sick. So the bigger mission is more important than the individual day, right? So we keep getting the reps. You just focus on what's ahead of you. Same thing that we're talking about here. Big mission is 3,000. Focus on what you've got for the day, and eventually you're going to get there. So come along that journey with us. Get swole or don't, you know. But do people say that? I don't think they say that anymore. I don't think I can say that. Nikki's going
Bro,
to
Chance Pearson does. Chance Pearson says that.
That cat is ripped, man. No, this has been great. We've had some great episodes. We've gotten great new episodes of the Daily Leader coming out. Has some fantastic guests. We will be back real soon with another lounge episode. So, with that, Brad, it's been fun and it's been real.
Fun.
Yeah, man.